How's it going, everyone? I am Jeremy Alexander, and welcome back to another Pixel Platformer tutorial. Alright, so what we're going to do in this tutorial is we're going to add some run control here. Now, this is going to be a little bit different, and what I mean by that, and this is just nothing, we can delete that. What I mean by this being different is, as we go forward, I really hope that you get enough out of this tutorial that you can see that you can do a lot with Construct 2, and it really comes down to, once you're done with prototyping, how can you make this maybe less lines of code? Maybe you don't need to have all these actions here. Like, for example, when you look at our keyboard controls and you see all the things we're doing, our animation and our direction, even though this is technically exactly how you would do a state engine, you would say maybe state 0 equals right, state 1 equals left, state 2 equals up. This is still kind of, it's borderline. It's almost there. It does give us some control with our idle, but everything with our animation is almost a little bit redundant here. And what we can do is we can add a function maybe with a parameter, and that function then accepts this as the parameter. So player direction is equal to right, and then that way we only have to set it once. There's a lot of things that you can start to do, and I hope that you can start to realize that that's what Construct 2's strong point is, that you can prototype your code like this and it can be a little bit sloppy, and then later down the road you can come back and you can optimize even more, make it less lines of code, maybe there's a better way to do something, and that's the fun in it. And if you don't see it as fun like that, then you're just not going to have fun with programming. Alright, back to the tutorial here. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be making our player run. Now what I want to be able to do is to obviously hold down D and A and then run faster. And that's actually very simple to do, but of course there's other ways to do it. So I think actually after this we might make a video on just how to organize our code a little bit better, and then later on when we finish the game or the tutorial, we will actually go back and optimize a little bit if there's stuff that we can change. If not, I'm very excited to see what you might be able to come up with and different ways of doing this, because there's just so many different ways to do this. Okay, so let's do what we need to do, and that is our trigger. So now we have these keyboard triggers here, and we know that when we hold down A or D, that's when we're moving left and right, and therefore the way that we're going to trigger our run is going to be with another keyboard control. Now you could obviously switch this later on for your own game. You could have it be from the HUD. So say you had a health bar like thing that was your, I don't know, energy. And if that went to 0, then no, you can no longer run. So that's going to be triggered. Or you could do like a pickup, something like that, where you pick it up and then you can run for 10 seconds. You could do something like that. For right now, we're just going to use our keyboard control as our trigger. So let's go down here, and again, we'll organize this soon. Let's go into our keyboard. Key is down, and let's say the space key. And before we do anything else, let's go to our player, and I actually lowered our speed even more, because I like to show that this is moving slowly, and then when we actually have our run implemented, we can see it be faster. So, plus I actually think that 75 is a good speed for this. So here's what we're going to do. We're actually not going to need to do anything for this action. What we just need this to act as is a trigger. So let's select the event and hit B to make a sub event. Now that we have a sub event, what we're going to say is player is moving. Let's try that again. Is moving. There we go. So now, only if we're holding down the space key and only if the player is moving will we be able to trigger our run code, which is very simple. So add the action to our player. Let's set the max speed to be something higher than 75. So let's go, I like it at 150, something like that. And then what we could do, and you don't have to do this, is you can set the animation speed to something faster, so like 15. And that's really almost it. The last thing we have to add here is just an else statement. So to do that, select the main event here, so our keyboard, and hit X on the keyboard to make an else. Now this is how you do else statements in Construct 2. It's a little bit weird, but this immediate else is going to say, for this event, if this is not true, then this will be fired off. And in this case, we want to put it back to 75. Now, I'm manually entering these numbers here, and these numbers could be variables, and they could be instance variables that are tied to the max speed. You can have an instance variable that is tied to this control right here, and then we could just make this a lot different and a little bit more dynamic. But just for, just so you understand, I'm going to leave this at 150. So I don't think there's anything else we need to do. We could set the direction and we could make an animation for it, but the animation will be overridden by us moving right and left, so it might not look as good as we might think. Although we could set the direction just to keep with our theme here, so we can just say the direction equals run. And let's hit save, and let's hit debug so we can see what's really going on. So does that want to pop up? Let's hit debug 1,000 times so it'll pop up. I like to do that. Oh, I had other things open. Okay, here we go. And let's get our debug out. And there we go. So let's see. We need to grab our player, and we need to look at our platform controls first. So let's do that. When I move right and left, our max speed is now 75. And there you can see that our vector X is 75 for the right and negative 75 for the left. Now, this is important because our vector X and our vector Y means the motion for our pixels per second. So this is not something to do with our X and Y coordinate, which is our position. This is our speed. And this is telling us our Y speed, and this is telling us our X speed. And this is very important. And this is also capping out at 75 because that's what we put it to. But when I start to hold down the space key, let me get over here, you can see that now we're at 150, and now we're running here. And our animation's running because we're holding down left and right, which is fine for this because what our left and right animation is just walking. And what I did was, now if you look down here, our sprite animation, so we're holding down right, and you can see that when we hold down right and left, it's at 10. But when we hold down the run, it's going to go to 15. So now it's just going to run the animation quicker, which will hopefully just implicate that he's actually running, which I think it will. And obviously our else statement is getting fired off because now when I walk again, I'm back to 75. Yep. So I'm back to 75. So there we go. So that's a very easy way of doing running. And I think this functionality is something that you can really dig deep into, and you can actually have this be core gameplay for a game. Why not? It's something that you can really start to mess around with. You could have so many other things happen. You could have it be, I don't know, you could have it stop altogether. You can do, I was doing a movement variable before that you saw me delete where when I held down the run key, it worked for a few seconds and then it just completely cut off your motion, so you stopped. I'm not sure what kind of gameplay that could have done, but there's so many things that you can add on to it, and it's really getting to the point where hopefully you're comfortable enough with importing stuff, you are getting comfortable with code, and if you've never used the debugger, it's really simple to read. All of this is very self-explanatory, and we just went through all this stuff, and here's all of the other objects in our game here. Nothing too fancy here, but you can also delete these, which is really cool. You can have some control over it, and it tells you how many objects are on your game, how fast your game's running, and then definitely check out all of this stuff here when you can. There's definitely some cool stuff. These two are actually limited to the personal edition, but you still have the inspector, which is all you need for the debugger. Okay, I've rambled on a lot this video, but hopefully you're starting to get the hang of Construct some more. Thank you so much for watching. If you are on my YouTube channel, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That really helps me out. And if you're on Udemy and you're watching this course, then please leave a discussion if you have anything you want to say about this. That is totally cool as well, and I'm always down for any of you to message me with any questions. It all works. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.